Hello and welcome to Let's Play the Waylanders with me, BringItDon. The Waylanders was developed and published by Gato Studio and released out of early access today, February 2nd, 2022. It is a party-based RPG based on Celtic mythology, which is a very uncommon video game setting, and I'm really looking forward to it. So going forward, the rest of this episode will be nothing but character creation. I'm going to create my character, and I'm going to read everything pertaining to character creation in detail. So if that's not your cup of jam, feel free to skip ahead to the next episode where we'll jump into the campaign proper. But for now, let's start a new game and select our difficulty. So I'm a little split between Explorer and Waylander. For Let's Plays, I like to play the game on the developer's intended difficulty, which at first glance seems to be Explorer, because everything is normalized. But Waylander is the name of the game. So I think I'm going to do that. So Waylander difficulty. The authentic experience of the Waylanders. Damage from enemies is augmented. No health recovery after battle. Yeah, let's see how it goes. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Alright, so here's character creation. You have male and female. 4 races. Your background is dictated by your race and your class. So what I'm going to do is go over everything that is available to the human first, then we'll go Werewolf, Mourian, and Semi-Fomorian. So for the human. Humans are the most common and diverse race in Brigantia. The Celts are the main human race represented in the Waylanders, but as the seat of a thriving empire with trade routes that extend well beyond the continent of Europe, Brigantia has always been home to people of many different beliefs, nationalities, races, and ethnicities. And your trait is mostly water. Increases resistance to water damage. And the first class is the Warrior. Strong and reckless, warriors inflict devastating damage with 2 heavy weapons. Shunning defense, they are merciless at close range, cutting down their enemies or flinging them across the battlefield. Features are dual wielding, heavy weapons, short range, and melee. Next up is the Guardian. A selfless defender and champion, Guardians shield their friends in battle. Fighting on the front lines with a sword and shield, to draw the attention of their enemies, exposing their vulnerable flanks. Features are shield, heavy weapons, tank, and melee. Next up is the Rogue. Clever rogues are masters of trickery, evasion, and assassination. They weaken and confuse their foes before finishing them off with lethal close-range attacks. Features daggers, damage over time, trickery, evasion, and critical damage. Before I forget, these are just the base classes. There are advanced classes in the game as well. I don't know what all they entail, but I know that they're there. Alright, next up is the Ranger. Rangers are lethal sharpshooters with a loyal animal companion. Rangers excel at long-range combat, using their bows to inflict critical damage on foes' hidden weaknesses. Features long-range weapons, pets, critical damage. Alright, then the Sorcerer. Mysterious and powerful, sorcerers wreak magical havoc across the battlefield. Reality is a sorcerer's plaything. They can bend it to teleport in and out of battle at will. Features destruction magic, area spells, and teleporting. And the Healer. Healers call upon the spirits of the earth to heal and strengthen their allies or weaken their foes. The Healer is the beating part of any party. Features healing, buffs, and debuffs. Alright, first background for the Warrior. The Celtic Soldier. You've been training in the ways of combat since you came of age. You grew up in the Celtic culture and faith, but spent your early adulthood traveling around the world as a mercenary. During that time, you learned of other cultures and fighting styles, making you an essential asset in negotiations and on the battlefield. You're now an honored, decorated member of King Ith's personal guard. You're sharp, strong, and tough, but have little interest in diplomacy and politics beyond the kinds that lead to violence. And the Dogs of Ares Mercenary. As a teenager, Prince Lua, I believe it's pronounced Lua. His L-U-G is pronounced Lu. Well, it's like Lu with like a phlegm at the end of it. I'm going to butcher some of these names. I'm not proficient in Gaelic. I know how to pronounce a few words. That's the extent of my knowledge. So as a teenager, Prince Lua of Brigantia was sent to Scythia to study their advanced combat tactics. You were his instructor. As a mercenary from the famous Dogs of Ares Mercenary Company, You believe strongly in the glory of battle, and are one of the best skirmishers in the world. You specialize in the Greek spear and shield fighting style, as well as the bow, but know little of Celtic culture and society. This is your first time ever visiting Brigantia, and you may find their ways rather odd and difficult to understand compared to your own. It doesn't bother you much. In your experience, most problems can be solved with close observation, and when necessary, a little bloodshed. So I really like the inclusion of this background, because as the player, you're entering this game blind. You don't know the goings-on of the world that you're entering. So you can play as an outsider in this world, and it makes more sense. It gives you a narrative reason to ask questions that I think most characters should know the answers to in the world that you're playing. So that's really neat. Alright, so the Guardian has the same backgrounds available, same with the Rogue and the Ranger. Alright, the Sorcerer has the Celtic Druid and the Egyptian. So the Celtic Druid. As a Celtic Druid, you're deeply ensconced in the Celtic culture. Born with a natural aptitude for magic, you were sent to the Druidic Circle in Dumbria as a child to develop your skills. The other Druids of the Circle are your main family and cultural touchstones, and the trees, stones, birds, and the sea are as alive and important to you as people. You've become a respected and valued scholar, known for your ability to wield the natural elements. Your devotion to the Celtic faith means that your understanding of other cultures and religions is severely lacking. And the Egyptian. Since the beginning of time, Brigantia has been deeply connected to Egypt. The two societies have traded goods and culture for as long as anyone can remember, and many Egyptians reside in Brigantia. Queen Escoda herself was born in Egypt, and openly follows the Egyptian religion. A few years ago, the Queen's son, Prince Lua, met you in Egypt and offered you a position in his entourage. I really hope there's voice acting in this game. You've been traveling with him ever since, as a trusted advisor and friend. Far from home, you have not yet decided whether you will follow the Egyptian religion of your ancestors, or accept the Celtic religion and way of life as your own. You are as strong or battle-hardened as your royal friend. You're quick, intelligent, and curious. In other words, everything an advisor needs to be. Alright, same there. Alright, next up is the Werewolf. Descendants of the god Lu, werewolves do not transform humans with a bite, or change shape with the phase of the moon. Some appear almost human with lupine characteristics. Some are indistinguishable from wolves, with human intelligence. The majority, however, are fearsome half-human beasts, ferocious in battle, and dangerous foes. Their trait is Thick Pelt, increases resistance to wind damage. Alright, so they get the Alpha Wolf background. You're the leader of a powerful pack of merchants and traders. This will be your first journey out of your family's lands. You hope to meet your ancestor Lu. Werewolves don't prize the same qualities as other races do. You aren't as strong, tough, or smart as your packmates, but your speed is second to none. Alright, so werewolves only get the one background. Same with the Mourian. Alright, so Mourians. The Mourians are an immortal race with dark skin, golden eyes, and a penchant for both fate-based magics and intellectual pursuits. After centuries living amongst humans and other surface dwellers, most Mourians have grown tired of mortal affairs and have developed thriving communities of their own in the underworld and the medullas. Traits carved from rock, increases resistance to earth damage. And they get the Mourian Protector background. Your long life has been spent protecting Mourian leaders and diplomats, and you're proud to say that none of your charges have ever died, at least while you're watching them. This time, you have the highest honor of all, protecting the legendary seer, leader and sacred guide of your people. You hope to finally visit the great capital of the underworld upon your return. Your focus on protection has left you slower and less agile than you prefer, but you can take a punch like few others. Alright, then the Semi-Fomorian. The Fomorians are a race of monstrous immortal giants who once ruled Ireland. When the Tuatha came to power, they banished the Fomorians to a small corner of the Mourian underworld. The Fomorians have been in exile for thousands of years, biding their time until they have an opportunity to retake their ancestral home. Half Fomorians are the offspring of these titans, Less monstrous in appearance, but just as fearsome. Their trait is Forged in Flame. Increases resistance to fire damage. And they get the slave background. You grew up as a slave in the Mourian underground, with little knowledge of the outside world. You look human enough to most people, if a little tall. As a mercenary of the Mourians, you fought on their side in various conflicts throughout your life. You arrive in Brigantia as their bodyguard, but also as a warning. Your masters remember what the Tuatha did. Your Fomorian blood has given you strength, durability, and a tireless will. You tend to focus on what's before you, to the exclusion of all else. So there's another background here. I don't know who gets it. You can't hover over it unless it's an option for the race and class that you have selected. Also make sure I don't miss anything when I'm going through this. It's a scroll. I'm assuming it's a scholar background of some kind. I just don't know. Maybe it's exclusive to females? Oh, here we go. Alright, so female Mourian of any class. The Mourian Diplomat. Your elders have been grooming you for Mourian leadership since a young age. Studies and travel consumed your early adulthood. You've spent the last few years traveling with the Celts, learning about the world, and teaching them about yours. This particular trip will be the first time you meet the Mourian seer. You have to make a good impression on her. You have a great deal of experience winning debates, and are knowledgeable about cultures besides your own. Your devotion to intellectual pursuits have left you weaker and more frail than your famously sturdy people. So I tend to like to put myself as a character into a game the first time I play through it. So we're going to be playing a human here. I'm going to go with the Celtic soldier, and I'm going to be a guardian. So as far as I understand it, when you get companions in this game, they're typically a blank slate, which means you can choose their class and things like that. Typically, I like to play the tank character in games. I tend to default to DPS because most of the games I play have set narrative companions that have... There's always a tank, and I usually have that tank in my party, so you can't have too much DPS, but you can't have not enough DPS. Having too many tanks is going to hurt your DPS. Also, I don't care for dual wielding, and it sounds like the warrior is going to be a dual wielding build, and I don't like dual wielding at all. So we're going to be the guardian. So human, guardian, Celtic soldier. We can change our appearance. We can be bald, buzz cut. Pretty cool. Alright, I'm gonna rock this, I think. I have black hair. I guess it's closest to what I have going on right now. Alright, and skin tone, that's probably about me. And I have brown eyes, like little chocolate chips. Alright, and our stats. So we have strength, brute force, immunity, and intimidation, increases resilience. Strength, never weaken, never put a knee on the ground. Do not take a step back. Keep fighting no matter the terrific blows you take, nor the curses your enemies cast on you. That's every hero's dream. So brute force, immunity, and intimidation increases resilience by 2%. And resilience increases the chance of ignoring status effects. Sounds awesome. We have 9 points to spend here. And it looks like maybe these are increased because of my race and class. These are at 6. These are at 4. Let me confirm that real fast before I just say that. Let's go with, let's change our class to the sorcerer, I think. Yeah, so your starting stats are dictated by your race and class. Wouldn't mind them giving you the numbers when you select it here. you'll have to go back and forth to find out what each one has. But it's fine. Alright, we have to redo this. What do I have? Okay. Alright, Constitution. Lasts longer than your enemies. Assume incredible amounts of damage and pain. Assume is a weird choice there. Stand on your feet, despair the terrible wounds inflicted to you while you keep smashing foes' heads or spelling fantastic telluric powers. Pain tolerance, endurance, and bravado increases. Health by 10 points. So health, your remaining life, replenishes outside combat. Agility. Elusive, slippery, fast, lethal as a snake. A nightmare for any warrior bigger, heavier, and slower than you. Dead before they could even know what was happening. Dexterity, coordination, and cunning. Increases your dodge chance by 3%. Dodge increases the chance of dodging attacks. Pretty straightforward. Perception. In the maelstrom of battle, you remain calm. You can hear everything. You can see everything. You can see and configure the exact location to target your attacks and cause devastating harm. Environmental awareness, problem solving, and conversational insight. Increases critical chance by 3%. Critical chance increases the chance of a critical hit. Intelligence. Your mind is your greatest weapon. Through the years, you've mastered the knowledge to use incredible forces and abilities with minimum effort. Mind over matter. Analytical thinking and careful assessment. Increases efficiency of abilities by 2%. So efficiency abilities decreases the cost of class resource points needed for abilities. Sounds pretty good. And willpower. There's no greatest might than your will. There's a slight typo there. Might tan your will. There's no goal you cannot achieve. Unleash your power at the speed of thinking. A storm of sheer power, determination, readiness, and tenacity. Increases speed cooldown by 1%. So speed cooldown decreases cooldown of abilities. So strength sounds really good. Just the increased chance of ignoring status effects sounds awesome. So 10 is the max we can have in a stat. I really like the idea of perception as well. Maybe we'll do this. And it looks really good. So strength at 10, constitution at 9, agility at 6, perception at 8, intelligence 4, willpower 4. Alright, so my name is going to be... It's pronounced Domhnall. It is the origin of my name in Gaelic. Basically, it's pronounced Donald without the D at the end. Domhnall. I am a he. Alright, we'll probably go with the first one there. Alright, and the summary of my character. You are a human, one of the most common races in Brigantia. As a guardian, you're a tireless defender and champion of your friends. Your background as a Celtic warrior and decorated member of King Aeth's personal guard means you're skilled in combat, but have little interest in diplomacy or politics. And that's it for character creation. I'm going to call this first episode here, and the next one we will pick up from here, jump into the campaign, and see what awaits. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.